Hi everybody, it is video number 4 of the Explorer. I don't know why I always have to do the finger numbers, but I do. Didn't get any responses to the last video for the jungle menu, so if you could have a look back at that and think about it, maybe you didn't watch it right to the end, but that's when I set the task for you to do, so please do have a think, just write between a few words if you don't want to do a drawing, doesn't matter. So we have got to this part of the book. We're on page 269 for people who are following along. Oh my goodness, puppy just jumped off my lap. So Max had just said, please don't cut off our ears, said Max. No, I apologise, it was a kind thought. The explorer touched the ring on his little finger. I had rather forgotten how kind children can be. Then he shook his head so hard that his shock of hair flicked sweat onto the stones. He turned, giving a half bow. You'll forgive me, I must light a fire before dark. He paced to the far side of the square, close to his hammock, and knelt among the branches. It took him less than a minute to get the flames sparking from the wood. He moved so fast and with so much assurance that it was impossible to follow his hands. He took a fish from his pocket and set it on a three-cornered spit. The vulture kept close to his ankles. He sank down and squatted by the fire. Fred watched from the corner of his eye while the others grimly attempted to chew the twice-burned bird. The explorer sat, his elbows on his knees, staring at nothing. Do you think he's all right? Fred whispered. He looks, I don't know, sad? Con looked over. He kills snakes with rocks. That sort of person doesn't get sad. As they spoke, the explorer rose and crossed to a pile of coconuts at the foot of a tree. Each had been sliced open at the top and then had the lid replaced. The explorer drank deeply from one, threw away the shell and picked up another. After his third, he looked suddenly at the children. Do you drink? He called across the square. It depends on what sort of drinking, called back Con. Kahaka, my own version. Try some. They crossed the square warily, keeping a close eye on the vulture. Lila slipped back down the front of her sweater and laid a protective hand on his head and the other on Max's shoulder. They hovered, the four of them, on the edge of the light cast by the fire. Fred bent his knees to sit, but none of the others did, so he tried to make it look as if he were testing his joints. Sit down, boy, said the explorer, all of you. Do you not know what God gave you bottoms for? Here, drink this. What is it? Said Fred. Sugar cane, coconut milk, and some other things. Herbs. What kind of herbs? Asked Lila. Have you ever drunk anything that tastes like it will either kill you or make you immortal? That's this. Fred took a mouthful, then doubled over coughing. It tasted of nothing really, only hot and burning. It made his nose and eyes stream. More? Said the explorer. No, thank you. It tastes too much like being electrocuted. The explorer laughed. The laugh had thorns in it. You'll like it better when you're older. Con sniffed the liquid. Is it alcohol? The explorer shrugged. Technically, yes, but not the way you're thinking. It doesn't taste like wine or have the same effect. Con shook her head. Lila, to Fred's surprise, reached for the coconut. Just so I know, if I want to be a scientist, I need to experiment. She drank. Backer tried to drink too, and had to have his upper body fished out of the coconut. Lila shook her head vehemently. It tastes like puking, the wrong way round. The explorer grunted. Ungrateful baggage. He took the fish from the spike, laid it on a stone, sliced it down the middle and cut out 4 chunks from its flesh. Eat this, better than that horrendous nightmare of a bird you concocted. The fish was hot and rich. It was unexpectedly meaty in flavour, smoky and bold. Fred ate his in 2 bites and looked hopefully at what was left. Piranha, said the explorer. The older they are when you catch them, the more they taste like chicken. The explorer seemed surprisingly disposed to talk. He made a sweeping gesture with his hand, hit the vulture in the chest and sloshed some of the coconut's liquid over the bird. Tell me, what do you think of this? The vulture? Said Con doubtfully. Her voice took on the tone that voices take when asked to comment on a newborn baby, when that baby is self-evidently horrifyingly ugly. It's nice. It tastes very original. Of the city, of the jungle. They call it the green hell. Did you know that? Fred stared at the vast expanse of stone, at the green ceiling high overhead. They call the jungle the Green Hell because it is lacking in grand pianos. Men, and when I say men, I mean idiots, used to come out here with pianos on the backs of elephants, and they used to be angry when their teacups broke in the storms. He grunted, but if you're willing to have a roughish, wildish kind of life, I find it closer to heaven than hell. The explorer began to drink from another coconut shell. He sighed, and his eyes became misty. There's a lot written about love at first sight, and what is love at first sight but recognition? It's instant knowledge that this is a person who will make your heart larger, a lover, a child. The same applies to places. It's why I wanted to seek them out. It's why they need protecting. He stared, his eyelids a little uneven, at Fred. Fred stared at the fire, avoiding his gaze. There was a quality in this place that worked like flint on his insides. It was the light and the vastness of it, and the sun and the green. He could see why other people might feel it was too green, too loud, too endless, too much. But for him, it felt like a trumpet call to a part of him he had not known existed. Fred's face must have shown something of what he was thinking. The explorer hammered his coconut on the ground. I can tell. I can see that you are falling in love with this place. How do you not yet see why it must be a secret? How do you not see how mad it would be to gamble with such beauty? Fred hesitated. He could not keep it secret. It was impossible. The world deserved to know about this much beauty. The headmaster would call an assembly and call him a hero, but he'd never seen anyone as utterly sure of anything as the man in front of him. You don't understand, said the explorer under his breath. Speech is dangerous. Some of the most interesting things I have said I realised later I did not have a right to. Then abruptly he changed tack. He became brisk. You said you followed my map. Does that mean you encountered the bees? Yes, said Lila. We borrowed some of their honey. She explained how Max had seen the monkeys and the ants. The explorer nodded. I used to do the same. Bees make good allies. I used to get the tobacco pouches made specially by a man in the Burlington Arcade. I spent a lot of time in those parts of the jungle, but it doesn't do to be without tobacco for too long, and you can't carry too much on your person without attracting more attention from jaguars than is practical. I have tobacco pouches stationed across the whole sweep of the river. By the way, did you meet my dolphins? Yes, said Fred. We didn't know they were yours. The explorer hiccuped. They're good creatures, dolphins, he said, his voice tripping over itself. I used to feed them sardines. I worry it was a mistake, though. They trust too easily. It's a mistake to trust too easily. And then there was the fire, said Lila. A bad one. And so we came here. We thought it was the least mad risk. That's exactly it. The explorer was becoming emphatic. He emphasised some of the chahaka over Fred's knees. Fred tried not to laugh. Take risks, said the explorer. That's the thing to do. Get to know what fear feels like. Get to know how to manoeuvre around it. But... He paused to drink again. But? Asked Lila. But make sure the risks you take aren't taken to impress someone else. Fred frowned. It sounded like the kind of thing the master said at school. Right, that is another little bit over and done with. I need to find a bookmark because I keep losing my place every time I finish. Send me a message to let me know you've watched this and that you're enjoying it so far. And hopefully it won't be too long until we can actually read it in the flesh again in real life, which will be good. Okay, talk to you all soon. Bye.